I may, let's brush the canvas, with a broad brush to tell your lordships why and how your lordships should look at this matter. Well, this is, first of all, a pre-constitutional law. The 1920 Act is a pre-constitutional law. Pre-constitutional laws have to be tested under Article 13. If they are inconsistent with any fundamental right, they can be struck down. Article 30 is a right, fundamental right given to minorities. If your lordships looks at the 1920 Act, I'll come to that later, and comes to the conclusion that the Act itself is ultra vires Article 30, your lordship can strike it down.
But has there been a challenge to the validity of the Act itself?
No, the Act says it can be altered also under 372. The Act itself can be altered.
The proceedings before the...
No, today, today your lordships are testing the validity of 1920.
But no, where is is there a challenge to the validity of the Act?
When Basha is already, I'll come to that. Just let me. When Basha itself is the subject matter of reference, then you'll have to decide whether Basha is rightly decided or wrongly decided. That will in turn lead your lordships to testing the 1920
But if you strike down the 20 Act, then the very status of the university evaporates.
No, let's strike down the 20 Act in the context of Article 30.
That it violates my right under 30. And that takes your lordships to the reference of Basha.
Sibyl, what's your argument?
Well, my argument is, please look at it as a pre-Constitution Act.
Correct.
And in the light of that, test that Act in the context of our constitutional right under Article 30. You may come to the conclusion that the tests laid down in terms of Article 30, because the Basha judgment came in 1968.
Correct.
No, much water has flown down the Ganges after 1968.
But nobody
By-
challenged the Act, Mr.
Mulad,
Sibyl.
I'm not
How can we
staying.
deal with the validity of the Act?
Mulad, please, I am just at the moment, Mulad, only asking your lordships to look at it as a pre-constitutional law. We'll come to the argument as to how it can be challenged, how it can't be challenged.
All of you are appearing for Aligarh Muslim
I am
University.
appearing, Mulad, for the Old Boys Association.
Old boys. And Mr.
He is
Dr.
appearing
Dhawan
for
was
the
for
university.
AMU.
Yes.
And Shadan?
Right, Mulad?
But no
No.
challenge to the Act. How can we...
No, I'm not challenging the Act at all. Please appreciate, Mulad. I'm asking your lordship to interpret the Act in terms of Article 30.
That's of course...
That's all that I'm wanting your
There's
lordship
no
to do.
difficulty there.
Yes,
That we can
that's all.
always...
In violation of my right under 30, there's nothing more than that, Mulad, that I'm asking your lordships to do.
Yeah.
Now, Mulad, as your lordship knows, Mulad, Article 30 has been interpreted over a period of time.
And when Basha came into being in 1968, Mulad, there are several judgments after Basha, which give your lordships as to what the true meaning of Article 30 is. Right, Mulad? Those judicial dicta will have to be taken into account to interpret whether Basha was rightly decided or wrongly decided. Forget, Mulad, the amendments made. I'm not concerned with that.
861. You are getting 28.
Now, Mulad, if your lordship looks at the Constitution in the broadest sense, Mulad, what happens is, Mulad, there are all kinds of minorities. There are Hindu minorities, there are Muslim minorities. But when it comes to Christian minorities, when it came to, Mulad, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, a special, I'm talking about now education, a special provision for reservation for them was made, Mulad,
In the Constitution itself.
Then came the amendment to Article 15, Mulad, and that reservation then was extended to the backward community. So you have reservations in educational institutions for scheduled castes, for scheduled tribes, for backward communities. no reservation could have been given to the Muslim community or to the Christian community or to the Sikh community because it would be violative of 15 and 14 and 16. So in the context of the framework of the Constitution, there was no other way
to give an opportunity to those left out
No, Mr.
to allow for education.
No, Mr. Sibal, I don't think the reference is on this issue.
I'm
We are
not,
Look, Article 30 has its various connotations. There is impact of Article 30, which is entirely different from what we are deciding today. We are deciding only a limited question, what is meant by the term established
agree.
and administered in Article 30. We are not dealing with what is the effect if an institution is declared to be a minority institution. Because that's been
I
subject
agree.
matter of a lot of debate. Probably they wanting us to go into that. But
I'm
also wanting us
giving
to
only
go
a background, Manoj.
This
is not, please appreciate this.
wanting us to go into that question.
No, I'm just giving a background as to why 30 came into being, Manoj.
What you are saying is that the beneficial provisions which were carved out for, say, these SCs, STs, and the socially and educationally backward classes could not have been given to the minorities because there would have been the bar of 15(1).
That's right. And
No discrimination on grounds of religion.
there is a rationale. Yeah,
Therefore, what was the special provision which was crafted by the constitution makers? Article 30.
that's right.
That's why Article 30 has been called, in a sense, an article of faith.
That's correct.
We must put ourselves back in 1949, 1950.
Exactly.
And the idea was to give a sense of confidence to the religious and linguistic minority.
That's right.
That they would be safe within the confines.
It is
of
in
a
this
secular-
context that Article 30 is in the Constitution. I'm just giving your lordships just the broad constitutional framework. So when this happened, Maharaj, look back at the time of 1950 when we became a republic, Maharaj, where were these higher educational institutions? There were none. In fact, Maharaj, the only 5 or 6 higher educational institutions were University of Calcutta, University of Allahabad, University of Lahore, University of Bombay. And University of Calcutta and Madras. That's all.
In fact, Mr. Sibal, Bombay University had jurisdiction over present-day Karnataka,
Yes,
Maharashtra,
yes,
Gujarat, and if I'm not mistaken, parts of Sindh as well.
correct. But therefore, Maharaj, there were hardly any institutions of higher education. And Maharaj, if your lordships are aware, and I'm sure your lordships are, the only 14% of India was educated. 14% of 300 million people. There were no institutions. So when these 5 institutions, Maharaj, actually, they were set up after 1857. And Maharaj, it was set up on the basis of the London University. Because unless you had a university, Maharaj, you couldn't get a job unless you had a degree. So when these universities were set up, Maharaj, then the British thought that we must regulate them also because they must have standards. This is all of the background to look at 30 later. I'm just giving your lordship some background, nothing more than that. So in 1904, a regulation was framed that all these universities must be regulated under one statute, so that standards are maintained. Right? No, it's okay. Then what happened was, in the meantime, there was this movement by the minorities and by the Hindu community. Now, what about our institution for us? So the genesis of Aligarh Muslim University is based on this movement within the minority community that apart from these 5, 6 universities, we must have a university for ourselves. That's how the Aligarh Muslim University came into being. And imagine Sir Sayyid, and I'm talking about 1870 the patience that that man had. That we should not be looking at Muslim education alone, we should be looking at secular scientific education. English language should be and the kind of subjects, that were to be taught, I'll show your lordships. The same movement was in the Hindu community. So around the same time,
the Banaras Hindu University was set up and the Aligarh Muslim University was set up. So what happened was, Mullahs, when the Republic came into being, these were the two universities, one where the minority, the other where the majority, Mullahs. They became institutions of national importance. Why? Because they were set up, Mullahs, under the Central Legislative Assembly by an act of the Assembly itself, of the central government, the British government, of the imperial government.
What about the other universities, which were?
By acts, Mullahs, by
All of
separate
them were by
act.
act.
Yes. And then they're regulated in 1904 together.
They were
It
regulated.
will have an impact on the meaning of, why am I saying this? It will tell you the meaning of establish, it will give you a meaning of administration. Give you some indication as to what it means. Then, Mullahs, what happened was, then these were the only two universities, Mullahs, which were set up by the Central Legislative Assembly, and your Lordship knows, Mullahs, there was a time when the Constitution was framed, education was a state subject. So they could not be administered by the state in which they were located. Both were in UP.
In fact, apropos what your submissions, sorry for the digression, if you look at entry 63
I
of
was
this
coming
one,
precisely to that.
union list, it
Yes.
says the institutions known at
National
the
importance.
of the commencement of this constitution as the Banaras Hindu University,
Yes.
the Aligarh Muslim
And
University,
the Delhi University.
and Delhi University, the university,
And then it came later, the university establishment pursuant of Article 371E. Any other institution declared by Parliament
Yes.
by law to be an institution of national importance.
Yes. And Mullahs, Ambedkar says this is because we must protect the cultural ethos of India.
Genesis is a movement, Mullahs, within the Muslim community that we must have an institution for ourselves. Now, Mullahs, there is, if your Lordships ask me, there is an actual confusion as to when a statute recognizes a university degree, it establishes the institution. Mullahs, there's a complete confusion. It has nothing to do with establishment. A degree granted by a university is a recognition of that degree, which allows you employment. Nothing more. The concept of establishment is dehorse that. It's an act of recognition by the state of the degree.
the Anglo-Mohammedan College could have well been affiliated to an existing university.
Yes.
In which case they couldn't have granted their own degrees.
No?
They could have been
Correct.
affiliated.
And
to
that's only a recognition of the degree that you, whatever course, like St. Stephen's, Mullahs, is affiliated to Delhi
University.
So you get recognized the
But
degree.
they constituted a university
Yes,
so that they could themselves grant degrees.
that's correct. And that's for what? Recognition of their course of studies consistent with the standards set up by the government. That's the heart.
What is the year of the setting up of Banaras Hindu University? Because
Same year, but
it also
16
celebrated its 100 years.
1915.
1915.
15.
1915. So
Yeah.
2015.
And
they
this college was affiliated with Allahabad University.
That's correct.
And Allahabad University used to confer degrees.
That's correct.
This MAO.
Oh, I see.
So there's
First Calcutta University.
Calcutta and then Allahabad.
Then Allahabad University.
Yes. Therefore, Mullahs, there's a basic, according to me, quote unquote, confusion that the grant of the status or recognition of a degree is the establishment of the institution. Mullahs, today, for example, I set up a minority institution. It's recognized as a minority institution. And I set it up, Mullahs. Will I lose my status under the present law?
Which are the, just as a matter of interest, which are the minority universities in the country today?
Many Mullahs, state universities. Now, after Basha, what has happened is, Mullahs, the states allow a minority institute. What happens is, But I want to set up a minority institution, say a Sikh institution or a Christian institution. I set it up.
You have the Christian Medical College, Vellore, for
Yeah,
instance.
well, that's
I'm
an
not
old
sure
one.
whether it's a
That's an
deemed-
old institution, but I set it up now. Supposing tomorrow I want to set it up after Basha. Once I set it up, I go to the National Commission for Minority Education. And I apply to them and saying I set it up as a minority institution. They will ask me for several facts as to what is the reason, why have you set it up, where is the funding, are you financially capable, this, that, and the other. And then they will grant me the status of a minority.
But you don't get the status of a university under the Act.
No, you do,
No,
you
no,
do,
correct.
you do, you do.
But before 2010,
Before 2010 also?
because the act is of 2010, the National Commission.
No, it doesn't matter. Before that also, you do. There are several universities.
No, but they must have applied after the 2010.
That's right. And deemed universities also.
And-
Manas, and then the third most important point, Manas, I'm just broadly telling you a lot. The third most important point. Manas, when Basha was decided, the UGC Act was in force. The 1956 Act. The NCMEI was not in force. But the UGC Act was in force. Now, under Section 23 of the UGC Act, nobody can give a degree unless it is through the UGC Act. You can't give a degree. You can't call yourself a university. You're either a deemed to be university or you're a university. Or you can't use the name. So how do I become a university? I mean, it's a contradiction in terms. I set up a minority institution, a minority university, which I'm entitled to, and I'll come to that in a minute. And then the moment I'm registered as a minority institution and I get university status, I become a non-minority institution.
Right to set up probably is now after TMA Pi, closed from 19(1)G as well as 26.
That's the main, I was coming to that, Manoj. That's the other scheme that I was coming to. Why did TMAPI decide what it decided and why did it leave that question open, Manoj, which was actually referred to it? I tell your lordships why. I argued in TMAPI, Manoj, having opened the argument that, look, both the majority community and the minority community are entitled to set up educational institutions, according to me, of their choice. No bar. Court asked me under which provision. I said 19(1)G. 19(1)G talks about occupation. Setting up a university is an occupation. So the majority community can set it up, the minority community can set it up. Both under 19(1)F. But the minority community has something more than 19(1)F. 19(1)G. Which is Article 30. Now read Article 30 with me. You don't have to read it, Mullah. All minorities are entitled to set up educational, whether based on religion or language, can set up institutions of their choice. Right? The choice relates to what? School, college, university. Choice can't be limited under Article 30. I can set up a school, I can set up a college, I can set up a university. Now you say I have a right to set up a university. But if I go to the statute, if I go and get myself, go to the UGC and say I'm a university, then I lose my status. It's ununderstandable. The very logic is ununderstandable.
What is the question where the universities had already been set up before 1956 and were already giving degrees? What is the position under the UGC Act?
Well, they were not minorities. We were only.
Forget about minorities.
Yes. Yes, they were giving degrees, Malas, and I tell you, Lordship, there.
Those degrees continued to be recognized and
Yes, yes,
accepted under the-
yes.
So in your case, you were giving degrees even prior to that.
No,
You were giving degrees after 1920.
after 1920, yes.
So the UGC Act, therefore, to that extent, did it prohibit you from giving the degrees? No.
No.
So you are independently
Yes,
incorporated.
till
under-
Basha came, Malas. Till Basha came. This Basha came, Malas. It's a very strange situation.
No, even after Basha.
And after 1982 Act also, we were continuing to be a minority institution. Then also, nobody challenged that act. I'll tell you, Lordships, how it came about. But I'm not into the 19... See, basically, Basha says that, look, you could have set up a university and could have given degrees. Well, how could I?
Actually, even after Basha, degrees are given and can be given.
I am on... Sir,
Yes.
I request my
No,
learned
you
friend.
said no, therefore.
Like, it doesn't matter. You know, every incorrect statement I make need not be corrected by you. Because every incorrect statement you make, I
Some
never correct.
incorrect statements are very potent.
Incorrect statement you make, I never correct. Because I believe you will always make correct statements. So, Malas, what is the point that I am making? That you can't lose your status as a minority institution the moment the UGC grants you the status of a university. And Article 30 entitles you to set up a university. You can't say now Article 30 doesn't entitle you. Siddhaj Bhai, when it says, Malas, and this is really the other confusion. Siddhaj Bhai, when it says that Article 30 is an absolute right, is absolutely right when it says that. That absolute right is reference to the choice. That absolute right is not with reference to regulation. Which is why TMA Pai later says, you will be regulated. You can't say that you will not keep your sanitary standards. You can't say that you will not keep this standard, that standard. That comes from where? From 1906. So every university, whether a minority university, will be regulated in public interest under 1906. Right? But it has the right to set it up under 30. Regulation is nothing to do with the establishment. Regulation is to ensure that you keep the standards of education, excellence of education. And without any doubt, Malas, Aligarh Muslim University is, Malas, the other day I was in Riyadh, Malas, giving a lecture. Almost all the doctors are from Aligarh Muslim University serving Malas, the royalty there.
I was in Doha. All the chartered accountants from Aligarh Muslim University are chartered accountants. Are all Muslim. Of course, many of them said, we can't get a job in India. We are forced to come out. We love our country. We'd love to come back.
And Malas, I want to ask myself a question, Malas, and to you too. What is the right that a minority has today? What is the right? I have to comply with all standards. I can't appoint a teacher without an appropriate qualification. All universities are entitled to appoint teachers of that qualification. Majority has that right, minority has that right. I must comply with the student-teacher ratio. My courses of study must be consistent with the university courses of study, otherwise I won't get recognition. What is it that this article gives me? Just a bit of reservation, no? Is there anything else? Institution that I have established, I just want a little reservation. You want to deny that also? There's nothing else, Malas, nothing else. Now, if, Malas, there is undue interference in the function of my university, then it is my right to challenge it and say, you can't do it. But the administration of the university need not be in minority hands. I have the right to administer. I may say, you do it for me. It is my choice. But if you unduly interfere in my administration, I under 30 will challenge it and say, you can't do it. If it's 180 members and they are tomorrow interfering and they are packed with people, Mullahs, who are not in the I will challenge it then. It's not the other way around. Administration by outsiders doesn't destroy the minority character of my university. I can challenge it. That's not the test of Article 30. If you look at it historically, I have nothing else. I don't have reservation. Very few people in the community are, and well, let's be clear on it, and these are factual matters which it is a matter of public discourse, Mullahs. I mean, we are under scheduled caste, Mullahs, we are even below them in terms of education. So we are not empowered enough. The only way to empower our children is through education. And in higher education. May I just tell your lordships, in all these courses, in Aligarh Muslim University, like MD courses, MS courses, engineering courses, the minority students are not around. Most of them are majority. Why? Because they have not been empowered from school. The only places where they are in majority is theology, religion, because the majority community doesn't want to be part of that. So one, we are not empowered. Two, we want to be empowered. The only way to empower ourselves is to allow us these universities. Give us that right. Give us the right to be called a university. Allow the Muslim community students to get a higher degree. Let them get jobs. And you say, no, this is not minority. Why? Because you have been recognized by statute. That's Bhasha, Mullahs. So then the question that arises is, if the grant of the status or recognition of a degree is not the indicia of establishment, what is the indicia of establishment? Then you come to that question. And when the Central Legislative Council, when this university was set up at that time, there were certain debates that took place. Would my lords be kind enough to turn to that? Volume 4, 4C. PDF 40. And remember, Mullahs, I'm sorry, my mistake. have the choice to establish, I have the choice to administer.
No, if you don't have the choice to establish or the choice to administer, it says all minorities, whether religious or linguistic, will be entitled to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice.
Yes,
Of their choice qualifies educational institutions.
yes,
So you can set up and administer educational institutions of your choice.
yes,
Now, once the choice in setting up the education institution is recognized, once the choice where the education institution is recognized,
yes,
the choice is yours as a
Yeah.
minority. You have to establish it yourself if you have to get the benefit of Article 30.
yes.
If someone else wants to administer your institution, you can challenge that
That's correct.
provision.
That's what I'm saying, Manoj.
But to the extent to which you want to cede the right of administration to others, is your choice again.
Again, my choice. That's what I said.
That's what your argument is, that you are not compelled
Yes.
at the cost of your minority status to be required to administer it 100% yourself.
That's right. Manoj, therefore, Manoj, I can establish an institution of my choice and I can administer to the extent that I want. It's my choice. It's as simple as that, Manoj, in very simple terms. Why, Manoj? Because what your lordships have held right from Manoj Aarti Kerala, right to TMI, that the government cannot interfere in your administration to the extent that it whittles down or destroys the right under 30. Therefore, it's the non-interference which is protected by virtue of the fact that I'm granted the right to administer. I hope I made myself clear. I have the right to administer, Manoj. Now, that right is mine. If you say, for example, now,
But can you say, Mr. Sibal, that I have a right, I have a choice to establish?
yes,
Instead of establishing it myself, I will delegate the power to establish
No,
to someone
no,
else.
no.
You can't do that.
no, no,
right?
of course I can't do that, Manoj. I can't do
You have to establish it yourself.
That's right. And I am right to administer it also. But if supposing government says, look, in your select committee, we will have a nominee of the UGC.
You can challenge that.
I can challenge that, but I can also accept it. Oh, it doesn't matter. I can also accept it. Now, if I accept it, doesn't mean that I've given up my right for it, that I'm not administering it. That's how ultimately, Manoj, everything else is controlled. There's nothing left, Manoj. So what is given to the majority community under 19G, right, is regulated. What is given to the minority community is also regulated. And it's regulated under the same statute. So there's no difference. I don't get a higher right, they don't get any superior right. So what is the right under 30 that is left? What is left is just some reservation. Why? Because my community is not educated enough. Now they say, no, no, no. You are an institution of national importance, so you've lost that right. It would be bizarre. I mean, you will destroy the very conscience of Article 30, Malaz, the very leitmotif of that article. Then you might as well get rid of 30. Then why have 30 at all?
Only thing which we'll have to consider is this, that at the birth of the Constitution itself, we are now not looking into, the broader aspects of the right of a minority to establish and administer. At the birth of the Constitution, Aligarh Muslim University was referred to EO nominee. There are only two institutions which are
Yes.
referred to
Yes.
EO nominee.
Yes.
Banaras Hindu University and Aligarh Muslim
Correct.
University. Once these are recognized EO nominee in entry 63 of list 1
Correct.
and placed at par with institutions of national importance, as it calls.
Fair enough. We get some funding, Madhur, that's all. We got some extra funding. Please, you point out what is that everything. You're already trying to take everything from us. What do we get? Some extra funding is institutions of national. What of the IITs are all institutions of national importance under 64. What do they get, Mullahs? The funding. Mullahs, all right, let's go back a little. If you look at the development of education in India as opposed to other parts of the world, Mullahs, take, for example, Stanford. Stanford was set up by a magnate, Mullahs, who used to run locomotives. He made billions of dollars, Mullahs. And his son died, so he set up Stanford University. There was no regulation of Stanford University. Grew, Mullahs, started awarding degrees. Yale was set up by Puritans. 500 Puritans, Mullahs, who were anti-Anglican. The Anglican Church, Mullahs, came and set up the university. Gave its own degree. Harvard was set up by 1,700 Puritans. Cambridge, Mullahs, how was Cambridge set up, Mullahs? What happened was at Oxford, two people were convicted, which the Cambridge scholars thought were innocent. And the king supported that, their conviction, and their death sentence. They were hanged. So, Mullahs, the scholars, about 60, 70 scholars ran to Cambridge and set up Cambridge University. Gave their own degrees. We are regulated. We are regulated. Why? Because we don't have the wherewithal to set up a university. The minorities, the Dalits, the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, the backward, very few of them have the capacity to set up a university. We're a poor nation, Mullahs. Today, our per capita income is $2,000 per person, which is what? 230 rupees per month. That's a per capita. 800 million people are earning 5,000 rupees a month. Where are you going to get universities? And whatever little we have, you want to take that away also. Let's look at the context in which all this is being done. It's all niceties of law are fine, Mullahs, but what's the heart of the matter? Heart of the matter is the only thing we get is a bit of legislation. You want to take that away also. By some strange logic. Sophistry. Now just see, Mullahs, kindly come to volume 4A for a minute. Page 203. Now this is the UGC Act, which was there in 1956. So Bhasha was decided when UGC Act was in force. Now kindly see, Mullahs, the definition 2F university means. Page 203, my lords have that?
Mr. Sibal, after examining 2F read with 22.1,
23.
22.1
Yes,
of UGC,
yes,
then probably you have to answer,
yes.
your problem is created because of Pasha or because of these provisions under the UGC Act?
Bhasha decides the
Just
issue.
examine and just,
All right.
maybe that you have to respond
The
to.
lordships are asking me the question whether our problem is because of Bhasha or because of this act.
This Act,
Yes.
2F read with 22.1.
All right. Let me. Where is 22?
And see the,
214.
and see the opening statement of the Act. It is referable to entry 63 of list 1.
Correct. That's right, man. 214. 22.1 is the right of conferring or granting shall be exercised only by a university establishment incorporated under the Central Act, a Provincial Act, or a State Act, or an institution deemed to be under Section 3, or an institution specially empowered by an act. Correct? Because otherwise, Mullahs, I can't just set it up.
Because of this provision.
Because of this provision. And C23, Mullahs, that's the other thing. Please C23. No institution, whether a corporate body or not, other than a university, established or incorporated by or under a Central Act, a Provincial Act, or a State Act, shall be entitled to have the word university associated with its name in any manner whatsoever. Provided that nothing in this section shall for a period of 2 years, we are not concerned with that. then there's a big problem, Malaz.
So the right to establish a university
Yes,
which is competent to award degree
yes.
is restricted in terms of the provisions under the UGC Act, not on account of the judgment as such. In if you read in abstract.
Yeah, but
Bhasha-
Malaz, 1956
That's
was
what
there when
Bhasha
Basha was.
referred to this.
My problem is 1956 was there when Basha was established. And Basha then says, you could have set up a university and awarded degrees. Your Rothschilds will remember. That's what Basha says. That you could have set up a university.
In 1920, when
I agree.
56 Act was not there.
I agree, but even in 1920, there was no such statute. Even in 1920.
It is only 56.
He just said something. They just said it, Malaz. There was no statute under which I could have, Malaz, be called a university. It was not there then, it is not there today. And Basha doesn't say that it was there then. So the moment you say, because UGC now came into the picture, and UGC recognizes your degree, it doesn't recognize the establishment, Malaz. It's, Malaz, kindly see, the recognition is for a degree.
Degree is recognized by a university, not by UGC.
I'm talking about university, Malaz. Yes, it is recognized. UGC, Malaz,
University
I
can be
can't call myself a university, then the guideline.
At the moment,
University.
an entity is a university.
I lose my,
Uses
I lose my status as a minority institution. That's what it is, because I can't say I have established it, according to Basha. Plus, a degree to be recognized, ultimately, why is a degree given? It is given for the purposes of seeking employment. Let's be clear. Nobody gets a degree, for the sake of having a degree. If it's medicine, for the profession, medical profession. If it's engineering, for engineering. If it's chartered accountants, law, it is only for employment. You have a BA degree, this is the minimum threshold for getting a job. You have to MA doctorate, you will get a teaching profession. So there is no degree which is unrelated to employment. That's another fundamental basis on the basis of which you must appreciate the whole case. So the degree is only a recognition of your attaining a certain expertise, academic expertise, to enable you to be part of the workforce of this country. It has nothing to do with the establishment of the institution. Without it, it is of no value. No degree is of any value. Supposing, Malad, I want to set up a design institute, a minority institution. Can I be stopped? I can't. Now, but I'll be regulated. The Act. Now, the moment I'm regulated by the Act and the minority says, look, I want to set up a design institute. But I'm regulated by the Act. Moment they give me the status of a university, I will lose my right to establish. Therefore, I'll not be able to serve the community for which I'm putting in money, for which I've given land. And in most of these cases, Mullah, the land is given by the community itself. So, Mullah, there's a complete disjunct in the concept of establishment and the concept of recognition. Complete disjunct. Recognition is for the purposes of being part of the workforce of this country. Establishment is for the purpose of ensuring that people of your community can be part of the workforce of this country, are enabled to be part of the workforce of this country, are empowered to be part of the workforce of this country. It's a vehicle for empowerment, not a vehicle for destroying the very concept of setting up or establishing a minority institution. So assuming now it's not a minority institution, what will happen, Mullahs? If it's not a minority institution, they will pack it. Their own people. Not that they've done it, Mullahs. I'm not saying, Mullahs, that they are biased against us or that they will do it, but they have the right. They have to run it like any other institution of their choice. So they can have their own faculty, they can decide on how people are to be recruited, they can decide all that. I can't even choose the courses I want to study, Mullah. That has to be also cleared. So once I have established this fact, Mullah, then the question arises, what then, as I said, what are the indicia for establishment? And I just want to take your lordships to volume. Yeah, let's look at 4C, I guess. PDF 40, Mullahs. Yes, PS 40, Aligarh Muslim University Bill. Volume 4A, PDF 40. Or C.
4C.
4C, what is it? It's 4C. What are you waiting for?
PDF 40, huh? This is start.
Sir, having after a careful study of the Indian political conditions, arrived at the conclusion that the backwardness of his community was due to their neglect of modern education, that selfless patriot Syed Ahmad organized a committee to divide means for the educational regeneration of Indian Muslims. This devoted band of Muslim workers held a series of meetings, the last of which took place on 15th April 1872, in which it was decided to establish a Mohammedan college, and on the 12th of May that year, a society called the Mussalman Anglo-Oriental College Fund Committee was started for collecting subscriptions for the realization of that end. The result of their patriotic activities was the establishment of a school, the opening ceremony of which took place in 1875 on the birthday of late Majesty Queen Victoria, 24th of May, the school classes being actually started on the 1st of June. His Excellency the Earl of Northbrook was then at the helm of the Indian government, demonstrated his generous interest in the welfare of that infant institution by subscribing a sum of 10,000 from his own pocket towards the fund. In 1876, high school classes were opened, and it goes on like that. That's the genesis. Now, let's kindly come to the bottom of page 41. The last 7 lines starting with the sentence, meanwhile. My lords have that? Meanwhile, the movement for the establishment of a Muslim university continued to gather strength. Resolutions in that behalf were carried at several meetings of All India Mohammedan Educational Conference, and finally, having ascertained informally that in addition to the existing valuable assets of the college, a large endowment fund would be required as a guarantee of its stability before government would agree to the establishment of a Muslim university. Exactly what the UGC does now. His Highness, the Aga Khan took the lead and headed a deputation which early in the year 1911 visited the various Indian centers in order to collect the necessary endowment fund. Such was the general response of the Muslim community throughout India. Flat within a few months, the deputation secured realization of promises for a necessary fund of 30 lakhs. And remember, Mullahs, that 30 lakhs became then the endowment when Mullahs, the government decided that, look, you can, yes, under the 1920 Act. Now, Mullahs, none of this is discussed in Basha. None of this. The 10th of June 1911, the Government of India communicated to the Secretary of State the desire of the Muslim community and recommended that sanction might be given to the establishment. Sorry, I don't stand here, Mullahs, for Aligarh Muslim University. Mullahs, I stand here for the diversity of the constitutional ethos of this country. And I plead to your lordships, don't allow that to be destroyed. There's no such thing as one size fits all, especially in the field of education. Because, I mean, I have some idea as to how educational institutions are set up, Mullahs. I mean, they're not set up by a statute, just like that. Mullahs, somebody says, some representative says, Mullahs, I just give lordship the reality. Some representative says, I don't have any school in my area. You know, my people have to actually rush 25 kilometers. My girls have to go 25 kilometers to go to a school, or 40 kilometers or 50 kilometers. There are no teachers. We need a school here. And then Mullahs, representations are made to public representatives. Then the matter, resolutions are passed. Then Mullahs, the matter comes to the minister concerned. Then the minister looks at all this. The minister then says, look, let's find out whether at all it's feasible to have a school there or not. Then ultimately, Mullahs, a decision is taken. Then the file moves from the UDC to the LDC, to the director, to the joint secretary, to the additional secretary, to the secretary. Then a cabinet note is prepared. Then the cabinet note is circulated. Then discussion is with the finance ministry. Who's going to finance it? This is how Mullahs institutions are set up, not by a statute. The statute is the end product of the establishment process, which starts on the ground. And this is that establishment process that I am, Mullahs, inviting my Lord's attention to. It is at the heart of establishment. The statute happens to be a vehicle for the purposes of recognizing the establishment. It is not the establishment itself. It can never be as a matter of law. My land, my money, my community, my desire, my infrastructure. But moment I say that, look, the statute recognizes it, I lose everything. I am nobody. Why is it an institution of national importance? Because there was no other university, minority university at that point in time. Needed help also. Non-Muslims also ultimately gave funds to it. We also stand there and defend it, Mullahs, because we stand for that ethos. Yeah, I know that you mentioned already. So,
in fact, this particular debate, the debate in the legislature, refers to the Banaras Hindu University as well.
Yes.
And at page 42.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the Hindu leaders who too had their in turn approached the government of India with a scheme for the establishment of a Hindu university at Banaras.
Yes.
Guided by that practical spirit, which is one of their characteristics, accepted the conditions laid down by the Secretary of State, with the result that a bill for the establishment of the Banaras Hindu University was prepared, etc. Then they say, the legislation regarding the Banaras University was framed in consonance with that scheme of things the bill, that is this AMU bill, is
Yeah.
in its essentials founded on the Banaras Hindu University Act,
Correct.
recognizing the all India character of the Banaras and Aligarh universities. The rules framed under the new Government of India Act have now proposed that these two universities should be a central subject, and the responsibility in connection therewith will thenceforth be rest on the shoulders of the Government of India.
Yes. Therefore, Maharaj, they couldn't be in list 2. They had to be in list 1. And Maharaj, list 1 is only fields of legislation. That's all that there is. And so if in that field of legislation you do something which interferes in my administration, I can challenge it. Whereas even in the 1990 government, 19 Government of India Act and the 1935 Act, they were in list 1. So we did not, our constitution did no different. Then come to 45 minutes. Now, well, kindly see at a glance, kindly come to 43 bottom, Maharaj. I'm sorry, not 40, 43 bottom. It's in quotes. A glance at section 6.2, 17.5, 18.5, statutes 8.1, 10.1 and 19.1 of the BHU Act will make it clear to honorable members that the visitor, the Lieutenant Governor of the United Provinces, is the main agency of control in the case of the Banaras University. In the present bill, in consonance with the central nature of the subject, much of that control is transferred to the Governor General in Council, an authority which under the Government of India Act will henceforward include 3 Indian members. Under the Banaras Hindu University Act, all new statutes or additions to statutes or amendments or appeals to statutes other than those providing for the instruction of Hindu students in Hindu religion require the previous approval of the Lieutenant Governor. And your lordships will notice that the court under the BHU Act consisted all of Hindus, which was also amended later. This can't be done, just as the all-Muslim court was also amended in 1951. Then come to 45. This is Honorable Khan Bahadur Mir Asad Ali Khan, second paragraph. By the introduction of this bill, we are adding today one more university of a teaching and residential type. University education on modern lines will prove to be a great boon to the Indian Muslim community. The Aligarh University, when it ushered into existence, will undoubtedly be an epoch-making event in the history of the progress of Indian Muslim education. With the door of universal knowledge wide open to the Muslim young men in a university of their own, the intellectual progress of the Muslim community is assured. With the imparting of Muslim religious education in Muslim young men and direct encouragement of Oriental and Islamic studies, their moral and spiritual progress is assured. In one important respect, the proposed university at Aligarh will differ from the existing universities of a teaching and residential type in that it will not as recommended by the Calcutta University Commission include intermediate classes. Though greater concentration will be given to the development of cultural aid of higher liberal education. So here is a minority institution wanting to concentrate on liberal education. Now, can this be ignored, Malas? Kindly see, Sir Badikari. Sir, I congratulate, page 46. My Muslim fellow subjects, upon the appointed time, having arrived upon the approaching materialization of an educational organization of their own for which they have long been waiting. Materialization, this is establishment.
I was reading a little differently. Did you read that passage at page 45 from Khan Bahadur Mir Asad Ali Khan's speech?
Yes.
By the introduction of this bill.
Yes, I read it. I just read it. I just finished reading it. It is for the empowerment of the Muslim community, that's all. And that's also in liberal education. All this Malas Basha doesn't deal with, doesn't talk about. But it goes only on one thematic Mullahs, actually, I have, and I'll give it back to your lordships tomorrow morning. I'll finish Mullahs early morning tomorrow. Mullahs, I have analyzed the various provisions of the Aligarh Muslim University Act, Mullahs. All of that Basha refers to are matters of administration. I tell you, lordships, the mistake that was committed by the petitioners in Basha's case, when they found that the judge was not agreeable to the fact that it was established by the Muslim community, they started arguing, doesn't matter. Even it was not established, it was administered. Which is contrary to 30. So, Mullahs, therefore, the reference you will find established or administered. Why? Because they argued, I am a minority institution, even if I am not established as a minority, but I have administered it. Aligarh Muslim University was not there before the court. That's why that reference was made to that or. Because the genesis of it is the following. I'll just briefly in a few minutes tell your lordship the genesis. This happens in 1920. Then, Mullahs, the UGC Act comes. I am a minority institution. Then the 1951 amendment happens. Basha says irrelevant. That amendment is irrelevant. Doesn't take us anywhere. Then the 65 amendment comes. Like that 65 amendment, Mullahs, Chagla in Parliament says this is a temporary measure. I'll give that passage. So, Mullahs, nobody agitated. A PIL petition was filed challenging the 65. I didn't file it. Aligarh Muslim University didn't file. PIL petition was filed. Came Basha's judgment in 1968. Despite Basha's judgment in 1968, Mullahs, nothing really happened. The university continued as it was. Muslims, everything, 100%, all that happened, Mullahs. Then, Mullahs, what happened was that in November, Justice Fazal Ali, with reference to Anjuman Rahmaniya, Mullahs, said that somebody relied on Basha. He said this needs reconsideration. This is in November 1981. The amendment came in December 1981. 31st December 1981, immediately thereafter. Then came the 82 Act, 81 Act. Again, minority, nothing happened. It continued like that, Mullahs. Then in 2005, I'm just giving you, Mullahs, just a conspectus of what happened. In 2005, now, till that time, Aligarh Muslim University was not involved in this litigation at all. In 2005, I of the East and the West, Malaj, and the serving the cause of Muslim community. So page 46, Malaj. Sir Bhadikari, sir, I congratulate my Muslim fellow subjects. So, Malaj, this goes on. I mean, I can go on ad nauseum, but I don't want to waste your lordship's time. Then come to 51, Malaj. Raja of Mahmudabad. Sir, on behalf of the Muslim community, I beg leave to offer our grateful thanks to His Excellency the Viceroy and the Honorable and the Muslim University at Aligarh a tangible shape for giving to the proposal for the establishment of a Muslim community, establishment of a Muslim university at Aligarh in tangible ways, shape. Sir, even ever since the days of the foundation of the Aligarh College, it has been the heartfelt desire of the Mohammedan community to found a university center. Well, as my learned friend, Dr. Dhawan talked about founding. So it's really, it is the meeting of minds of the community for the purposes of taking forward the idea, which then ultimately results in a university being set up, is what establishment is.
What you're really saying is object and purpose has to be taken into consideration when we examine the word
Exactly.
established.
The genesis.
What is the purpose of establishment?
Yes, the whole idea, the genesis of why it was done, that's the basis, brothers. That's what established means. The rest is on recognition only.
Legal establishment has to be in terms of law.
Exactly.
What's that policy?
That's right.
Stipulated. in
But that's not the expression establishment in Article 30. It is not legal. Your Lordship, I think Your Lordship has put it very well. It is not the statutory recognition which is at the heart of establishment. That's a legal interpretation. Legally, it can't be established any other way. Can't be set up any other way.
In a society will have to be registered under
Exactly, exactly,
association again.
exactly, exactly. So Basha loses sight of all this completely. This is not the only thing, but if I mean, I give your lordships, just give me 1 second. Kindly see this volume of 3C. Please. Yeah. Well, just kindly come, Razal, because every speech is exactly the same, congratulating the Muslim community and their efforts. Now come with us to volume 3C.
In fact, it's called the second denominational
That's
university.
it's like denominational university.
You'll find that at page 51.
That's correct. That's right.
That is a speech of the
That's
Raja of
where the
Ahmedabad.
Banaras Hindu University also. It applies to both.
Yes.
Now, my lords, kindly come to, because I can go on and on, there's no point. I've just given to your lordships, my lords, a flavor as to how the genesis ultimately reflects itself in what was happening at that point in time. But kindly see, much before that, in 1872, my lords, there's a letter from the Viceroy to Sir Syed, which your lordships will find in volume 3C at PDF page 56. This is the private secretary to the Viceroy writing to Sir Syed. This is volume 3C, my lords, page 56, PDF 56. Let's kindly come to that letter. This is the secretary to the Viceroy, to Sir Syed. Kindly come to the second paragraph. Lordship has that? Kindly come to the second paragraph. Well, it's middle of the paragraph, but I am desired to inform you. Lordship has that?
Yes.
But I'm desired to inform you that if the committee succeed in establishing the college,
if the institution when established shows a reasonable prospect of divisibility and general success, and if the course of instruction is such as to convince His Excellency that a really bona fide effort is being made to afford such sound secular instruction, he is prepared to devote 10,000 rupees to the perpetual establishment of a scholarship in some branch of European literature or science, should this scholarship be ultimately established, the details connected.
then, my lords, come the selected, kindly come now to page 64. Same volume, page 64. From Sir Syed to Eliot, in reply to, my lords, that letter that I just read to your lordships. At page 64 and second paragraph. Well, let's not forget the fact that Basha says, because you're not established, nothing else arises. That's what Basha says. So we don't have to go into anything else. He says, you've not been able to prove that you established because there's a statute. Therefore, you're not a minority institution. So nothing else arises. Then comes the argument, I think completely erroneous, that even if we are not a Muslim university or established as a Muslim university,
We are administering it.
irrelevant. But let's kindly see the response at page 64, second paragraph. Certain Mohammedan gentlemen who were desirous to see the education of their co-religionists placed on a better and sounder footing organized a committee on 26 December 70, designated the Committee for the Better Diffusion and Advancement of Learning among Mohammedans of India, with a view to ascertain why the Mohammedans of India do not avail themselves of the government system of education, and to suggest means for the removal of obstacles, if any, and also find out why the study of Western sciences did not gain favor with them. So they were trying to move out of the madrasa culture. That's what Sir Syed was trying. But see the patience of that man. We're talking about the 19th century. To elucidate the points above alluded to, the committee invited essays offering as an incentive to competition 3 prizes of 500, 300 each of 3 best essays. The above sums have been previously collected by subscriptions raised for the purpose. And then, page 65, the paragraph starting the proposal of the select committee as set forth above, with the approval of the Central Committee, and the latter passed a resolution in the meeting held on 12th May 72 to the following effect, that a committee be appointed to raise funds for the establishment of a college in the NWFP
for the Mohammedans which would meet all their requirements, and the committee be designated the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College Fund Committee.
Subscriptions have already been set on foot, and rules for the safe custody of the sums thus raised framed by the committee. A copy of these rules, having thus most deferentially represented the main facts, the committee hopes that their efforts may meet the approbation of the government, and takes this opportunity to express a hope that the government will be graciously pleased to afford that help. Then, Mullahs, kindly see the next, the very next page, 66. The deplorable state of ignorance into which the masses of the Mohammedan community of India had of late fallen, having attracted the attention of some of the enlightened Mohammedan gentlemen of the country. And a committee was formed about a year ago to consider upon the best means to diffuse useful knowledge amongst the masses and to direct their attention towards their own amelioration so that they may be enabled to keep pace with the rising age. The said committee, after full consideration, after a long debate, carried out a thorough, out through several meetings, have now resolved to establish a college in Riyadh for the special education of Mohammedans. Now, let's kindly have a look at page 87. PDF page 230, is it 230? 87, very interesting. They decided to set up a college, Mullahs, and see the courses of study. Page 87.
Where does that document begin?
Mullahs, it begins at page 77. It says,
It's again a scheme for the proposed Mohammedan.
yes, well, this is very interesting, Mullahs. I can go on reading, but I just give your lordships a bird's eye view of the mind of Sir Syed. What was he looking at? If you look at page 84, it says, the school course is to extend over 5 years and will include Persian language, literature and composition,
Arithmetic, algebra, elements of Euclid, history of India, geography, English, religious instruction, and Arabic, which is voluntary. And then you will find boarding students will have to observe discipline, which the headmaster may think proper. And the staff of teachers may consist of headmaster, teacher of English, teacher of Arabic and Mohammedan theology, teacher of mathematics, Persian, history and geography, handwriting. And then you will find, most interesting, Mullahs, page 87, course of study for the lower department of the college will be Arabic, English, Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek. Mathematics will be theory of equations, algebra, plane trigonometry, spherical trigonometry, conics, solid geometry, differential calculus, integral calculus. This is how it has become an institution of excellence. I mean, when I went to Cairo, Mullahs, on several occasions, it is talked of all over the world.
Al-Azhar University, Mullahs, full of people. Why do you want to destroy this legacy? It still is, I know that. Why do you want to destroy it? And Mullahs, I have a legal issue, Mullahs, which I am really concerned about. I'll assume that Act 81 Act is bad. But it's bad. It's still a parliamentary statute. It's void, fine. Can a government ever make a submission to the court contrary to a parliamentary statute, even if it is declared to be void? Must support it. The executive cannot go against a parliamentary statute, even if it is struck down. It's struck down every day. What statutes are struck down every day by the High Courts? Can a government say, I will go against the statute? This is the first time it has arisen, Mullahs. Having otherwise supported it, they say the executive can change its mind. Of course it can change its mind by an executive decision. But it can't change its mind by a statute which Parliament has passed and say, no, I will argue against the statute. It's another very serious issue, Mullahs. No, I'm not saying you decide or not decide. There is a parliamentary act.
I'm ready to answer this.
No,
Let 81 amendment be decided. I will, my lord, argue against 81 amendment and substantiate it.
I mean, I have
can't say that don't touch 81.
how can you argue against the amendment?
Also.
This is an amendment of parliament. You cannot argue against it. An executive cannot argue against a statute which is passed by parliament.
In a constitution bench, it is the duty of the government to assist the court in the correct possible manner.
I'm
It
sorry.
was struck down by the High Court. I
don't-
can
I-
always support
I
the High
don't-
Court's view.
I don't
But
know
then
what
you
was-
can't say
Separate, we have
separate,
understood- We have understood the
don't,
argument.
don't permit arguments on 81.
We have
but
understood
we'll-
that argument. It was also flagged by Dr. Dhawan. It was flagged by Dr. Dhawan.
No, he talked about I'm talking about.
He flagged it, but he said after they raise the plea, then in rebuttal, I'll take it up.
Yeah.
We have understood that.
So, Malas, I'm just saying, this is the mind of these great people in the 19th century. This is what they were looking at.
And that's how the whole thing came into being.
That is why, Malas, it was established by the Mohammedan community for the purposes of empowering them to be part of the workforce of this country in various disciplines. And all that we get from it is a certain amount of reservation. Beyond that, we are all subject to the control. So, Malas, that's on established, Malas. Now, Malas, I just want to take your lordships. Huh? Is that? PDF 4. Kerala Education Bill, PDF 62, Malas. My learned friend has read everything, so I'm not going to, Malas, unnecessarily waste your lordship's time. Volume 5A, PDF 62. And that's all right. I don't want to do it. Just. Lordship has that?
Dr. Dhawan has shown us the judgments, Mr. Sibal. We can just look at them and you can formulate your point. on
No, I just show one sentence, Malas. I'm not going to read the judgment. Just one sentence. Kindly see.
Volume 5A, right?
Yes, 5A, page 62. The key to the understanding, Malas, this is the paragraph about
Towards the lower half,
Yes.
sentence starting, the key to the understanding of the true meaning and implication of the article under consideration are the words of their choice. My lord has that?
Yes.
Yes. Now see the next sentence. It is said that the dominant word is choice, and the content of that article is as wide as the choice of the particular community, minority community may make it.
sorry, Malas, it's at page, I'm sorry.
Page 62, the
Yes,
key
page-
to the understanding of the true meaning.
Yes, Malas, this is,
About 10 lines from the bottom.
yes. It is said that the dominant word is choice, and the content of that article is as wide as the choice of the particular minority community may make of it.
Yes, we read this. Mr.
Yes, but I mean, I'm,
Yeah, flagging it again. Yeah.
yes, I'm flagging it for the reason it's what I started with.
That choice is mine. It is as wide as the content as I would like to have it. It is true for establishment, it is true for administration. The ambit of the rights conferred, the next line, the ambit of the rights conferred under Article 30 brackets 1 has therefore to be determined on a consideration of the matter from the points of view of the educational institutions themselves. So, how do you view that right? You view that right through the eyes of the educational institution. What is that right? It is as wide as the content. The choice is as wide as the content of the article. And that choice cannot, subject matter, I cannot do something for an illegal objective. I cannot do something that is otherwise prohibited by law. That is obvious, Maharaj. I will not, my choice will not extend to that. My choice will not extend. But within the framework of the law, the choice is mine. And within the framework of the law, I can set up a university. Therefore, that is absolute. What is not absolute is that I can be controlled through regulation, which flows from 1906, which is the public interest argument. That is why, sorry. Therefore, Maharaj, what I'm saying is now, Indian Education Bill was in year 80.
58. Kerala Education.
Yes,
Bill.
Kerala 58. Right, now Maharaj, kindly see, so the law was already there. Kindly see Siddharth Bhai now. Just again, I'm not going to read the judgment, just one or two lines. At 106. This is, Siddharth Bhai explains what that absolute right means, Maharaj, which has not been understood so far. It says, Maharaj, at the end, the last at page 106, last 5 lines. Unlike Article 19, Your Lordship sees that? Unlike Article 19, the fundamental freedom, my Lords, I'm sorry. My Lord, the Chief Justice had?
Yes.
Unlike Article 19, the fundamental freedom under Clause 1 of 30 is absolute in terms. It is not made subject to any reasonable restrictions of the nature the fundamental freedom enunciated in 19 may be subjected to. All minorities, linguistic or religious, have by Article 30 an absolute right to establish and administer education, and any law or executive direction which seeks to infringe the substance of that right would be to that extent be void. Now, Maharaj, I just came to what my Lord put to me. That right in yours and me, I can challenge interference. I can say this structure is fine, you can have a doctorate, you can have a UGC representative, I have no problems with that. But I should have that grievance, because the right is mine. But under 19 Maharaj, that right is subject to the regulations under 19. Because it's an occupation. And for that occupation, I am subject to government regulations, either through the UGC or even otherwise. Next sentence. This, however, is not to say that it is not open to the state to impose regulations upon the exercise of this right. There it is. The right is absolute, subject to regulations. The fundamental freedom is to establish and to administer educational institutions. It is the right to establish and administer which are in truth educational institutions which cater to the educational needs of citizens or sections. Regulation made in the true interest of efficiency, of instruction, discipline, health, sanitation, morality, public order, and the like may undoubtedly be imposed. Such regulations are not restrictions on the substance of the right which is guaranteed. They secure the proper functioning of the institution in educational matters. So your lordship now see the correlation between 1906 and 30. The absolute right under 30, subject to regulation under 1906. That is for efficient standards. And the dual test for excellence is set out here, Maharaj, my learned friend, in Siddharth Bhai. That's page 114. He says, making the institution an effective vehicle of education for the minority community or other persons. So, I've done with Siddharth Bhai. Then you come to TMA Pi, Maharaj. This is very important. Kindly come to several parts have been read of TMA Pi, but kindly come to page 650. I'll come to that later. Paragraph 138, it's very important.
650.
615.
649, para 138.
These are all read over there.
We've read this one.
He read it, Maharaj, but I just want to. Because it fits into the initial submissions I'm making, that's why I'm reading it. It says, as we look at Article 30, 30 is a sort of guarantee or assurance to the linguistic and religious minority institutions of their right to establish and administer institutions of their choice. Secularism, and forget the secularism part. Now, let's kindly see last sentence. Any law or rule or regulation that would put the educational institutions run by minorities at a disadvantage when compared to the institutions run by others will have to be struck down. So you can't discriminate. Two, at the same time, there also cannot be any reverse discrimination. It was observed in St. Xavier's, the whole object of conferring the right on minorities under Article 30 is to ensure that there will be equality between the majority and the minority. If the minorities do not have such special protection, they will be denied equality. This is now confirmed by 11 judges.
Yes.
So that protection is essential. That's the heart of 30. In other words, the essence of 30 is to ensure equal treatment between, and how do you get that equal treatment? By virtue of 30.
Otherwise, Maharaj, you'll not be protected. My minorities will not be. That's true of others also, Maharaj. I'm not saying that. Why did Maharaj, I asked myself the question, Parliament amended the constitution, included weaker sections of the community, EWS. Why did they do that? Because many members of the forward community, of the advanced communities, were still poor.
They had no access. And therefore, Maharaj, a special reservation was given. I was like, I'm against it, but that's another matter. Special reserve, because the constitution only talks about classes of people. But we are not concerned with that. So this is then what happened, Maharaj. So if you do not interpret 30 in this fashion and say that, look, you have lost your right to establish, what you are doing is you are in fact violating the right to equality, which is a violation of 14 in fact.
Some other parts of education, at 19, huh? Para 18, yes, that's very important. Para 18. Para 20, actually. It starts at 18. This is the submission that was made.
And then we will have to.
At page 604.
That page.
Page number 604. I'm sorry, my lords have that?
Yes.
With regard to the establishment of educational institutions, 3 articles of the Constitution came into play. Article 19(1)(g) gives the right to all citizens to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business. This right is subject to restrictions that may be placed under 19(6). Then 26 gives the right to every religious, we are not concerned with religious denomination for religious purposes. Then Article 19(1)(g) and 26 therefore confer rights on all citizens.
Religious denominations to establish and maintain educational institutions. There was no serious dispute that the majority community, as well as the linguist and religious minorities, would have a right under 19(1)(g). This is the point I was trying to make, which is what I argued was in TMFI.
I said they have equal rights. And 26 to establish education. In addition, 31, in no uncertain terms, gives the right to the religious and linguist minority to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. So it is a right under 19(1)(g). There is an additional right under 31, which protects the minority community to seek to empower them. Why? Because otherwise, if we don't give them that right, it will result in article violation of 14. So St. Xavier's is Madhas, affirmed by 11 judges. I've basically done almost everything. Not going to waste your lordship's time.
After that, Mr. Farasar? Half an hour, and then we'll follow up on, who will commence from the,
Very short.
Mr. Sibal, then Mr. Salman Khurshid, and then Mr. Farasar. Give us a one-page set of
I
submissions
think
so that we'll upload it.
well, there's another item that I won't uploaded, only giving the sections of the act and all that. We've already given it, all that to be done.
So a little before lunch, I think by about 12:15 or 12:30, we'll be calling upon the other
Yes,
side.
yes, that should be a problem.
Please,
Deeply obliged, deeply obliged.
oblige.